Hey folks, welcome to another segment here on the Worn Outdoors Network. We got something special cooked up for you, and today we're going to talk to you about all of our setups and how we use them. Stay tuned. Taking the time out to click on us here and watch our video, go ahead, if you would, give us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when we drop videos and stay in the know. So today we're going to be talking about rod and reel setups. Now there are millions of different rigs and setups and all kinds of stuff, you know, different rod companies and reel companies and all kind of crazy stuff. But what I do before I cast any sort of judgment on the specifics, I go out and I buy a product, you know, after I've done my research and I feel like it would fit something or style or way that I fish, and it would kind of complement me in that way. Then I'll, you know, go purchase something and try it out. And if I like it, then we'll go from there. If I don't like it, it ends there. And first up here we have our little toad snatcher rod here, made from our guy over at Powercore rods. I'm telling you, if you're in the market for a custom rod, or you're just looking for something new, he can build pretty much anything you ask for and customize it as well. You know, we have one of my nicknames, we have our logo here, and this one is a medium light fast action, and it's rated for 1/4 to 5/8 ounce. And I mainly use this one here for pan fishing, or, you know, the smaller style fish, maybe some crappie as well. It's a, I want to say 6'6", 6'8", excuse me. But it's a great rod. I got it paired up with our Zebco Bullet MG, which is their newer model. And the reason I chose this specific reel for that is because when I'm pan fishing, I want to have something that's a higher gear ratio for pan fishing. I don't want to kind of just straight overpower them with a bait caster. I still want to kind of make it fun. And also, this thing can handle, you know, if a catfish or something, or a bass or something like that grabs a hold onto the line, if I'm using live worms or night crawlers or crickets or anything like that, I can still, you know, be in the fight, and I still have a pretty good gear ratio to be able to sustain that. And next up, our very next upgrade here after that is going to be our spinning setup here, and this is just a basic Abu Garcia medium action spinning setup. I love this thing. It's pretty reliable as far as spinning gear goes, and the backbone is just stiff enough with a soft enough tip, and it's you can feel the bite. I'm telling you, it's a great rod and reel setup. I love it. Excuse me, I usually throw weightless Texas rigs and things of that nature on this, wacky rigs, weighted or weightless. Kind of my finesse rod and reel setup, you know, to where I can fish in and around structure or cover if need be, but I can also, you know, put up a good fight. It's not too light, it has a little backbone, good gear ratio, and it matches up well. And next up, we have our lowest rated bass fishing combo. And this one here is just a basic Cast King paired up with a Shakespeare ugly stick. This is a 6'6" medium action ugly stick here, and I like to use this when I'm fishing in and around, you know, tight areas, or I'm pond fishing. It's great for that. I can make those short pinpoint casts, and it's strong enough that, you know, I can throw pretty much anything on it, but it's also light enough I can pretty much throw anything on it. You know, I can throw weightless Texas rigs and all kind of stuff and still get the job done. And it doesn't have too high of a gear ratio to where it's just like overpowering, and the rod and reel combo don't really suit each other, if that makes sense. So, and we'll get to explaining roughly a little bit about the gear ratios and things of that nature towards the end of this video when it comes to bait casting reels and actions of rods. And then after that, also, so after that, I kind of have my anywhere bait casters, a pair that pretty much I can take to a pond, I can take on a lake, I can take on the river, wherever, on a creek, and they will perform, and they're great. I don't have to worry about what I hook into. I know I can get them in, and I know these things will be sustained. So this here actually is an exclusive Bill Dance quantum rod. I love this thing. It's a medium extra fast action, and it is a 6'10", paired up with a Cast King Crixus, I want to say. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Let me know in the comments if I did. But this here, like I said earlier, you know, I have anything rods and reels, so this is one of them, and then the next one is the second one, and it's kind of something that I can just pretty much fish any lure in my box, fish anywhere in any style pretty much. Obviously, I'm not going to throw 2-ounce weight on this and go flipping or nothing, but other than extreme measures like that, I can get it done with this thing in and out. It's reliable. It's got a pretty high speed gear ratio for what I prefer, and it's perfect because if those fish get down in some grass or in some cover like that and I need to get them out of there, I can use this bad boy instead of my rod and get them out of there, so I don't lose that fish. And after that one, we have our second custom rod here. This was the original custom rod, and I really love this thing. I mean, I really love it. This is probably one of the most fished rod and reel combos that I have, and it's just simply an Abu Garcia Max Pro bait caster paired up with a Powercore rod, custom rod here. Has my name and some logos and stuff, and it is a medium fast action. It's 6'8", and it's pretty stiff, but it's got a nice soft tip. And why I fish it the most, because the stiff backbone here allows me to penetrate into that fish's mouth, but I still get good flex up here because it's pretty limber with that soft tip. And with this bait caster paired with this rod, I can throw pretty much anything weightless, you know, Texas rig. I can throw weighted Texas rigs. I can throw square bill crankbaits. I can throw medium or deep diving plugs. I can throw top water. Whatever I need to get done, I can get away with this one right here. And that's one of the main reasons I love it so much, because it's so versatile and it just works in so many different realms and atmospheres. And finally, the last but not least of our starting rod and reel setups here is my flipping setup. And here it's just a 8:1 gear ratio Cast King. Love this thing. Ultra fast reel with a big flipping stick. Heavy action, but it's not a broomstick. It's got a nice limber kind of medium tip, so I can still feel those bites pretty good flex. And it helps me, you know, when I'm flipping heavy cover in grass, or, you know, in laydowns or piles, rock piles, whatever. I can get in there with this thing, and even if that fish, you know, just gets to pulling and tries to get all up under that cover, I can use this high-speed 8:1 gear ratio Cast King and get his butt on out of there and get him to the boat or the bank, wherever we're fishing. Simplifying gear ratios the best way that I can is to give you an example. So two great examples would be, say, one, you're out flipping, you know, hyacinth mats, some thick grass, if you're unaware what hyacinth is, not to insult anyone's intelligence or sound condescending or anything like that. But, you know, we're all learning. I learn new stuff every day when it comes to fishing. But back on topic, say you're out flipping high mats. You know, you got your heavy action rod set up and you got a high speed reel. And you flip in there and one sucks it down and you feel it and you set the hook and you start reeling. Well, if that fish, you plugging pretty good, if that fish, you know, starts just nose diving and just trying to go and get you wrapped up in all kind of cover and all kind of stuff like that, you need a 8-1-1 or higher, in my opinion, gear ratio to be able to get that fish out of there. And what I mean by gear ratio is simplifying it. The importance of it is how much line you are bringing into that reel with each turn of that handle, each crank of that handle. There's measurements per gear ratio and all of that kind of stuff that you can look into and get a little bit more specific. Second example, say you're out, you know, you're using a 6-speed gear ratio, that's the first number there, and you're casting out deep dive and plug and you're just slowly winding that thing, you know, just it's doing this thing, nice little tight wobble, diving down deep, big old bass, 7-pounder comes out of nowhere and just smashes that thing. And you set the hook on him. Well, you set the hook, right? That fish starts swimming towards you. If you don't have a high enough speed to bring that slack line in that is developing because the fish is swimming towards you and catch up to that fish and get him to the boat, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose them and they're going to come unplugged because of the slack line. They get to shaking and doing all those head shakes and jumping and all kind of wild, crazy stuff, and they'll spit that bait out just as quick as you can blink your eye. So that's why I feel that gear ratios are important. Those are 2 prime examples of why gear ratios are important. Now, there are also certain setups for certain scenarios that I like to use. For instance, say right here, this clip that I'm about to show you is one of my pond fishing videos here, and I'm using my 6'8" medium fast action, and it's got a little stiff backbone so it can get down with the get down and has great hook sets. But I'm telling you, if I was using, say, my 6'6" pond reeling rod that I like to use that I showed y'all earlier, when I hooked this fish, I probably would have lost them. And it's simply because of it doesn't have enough backbone. I would have either lost the fish or broke the rod. So here's that clip just so y'all can see.
Bro, a freaking stud. That gets your freaking blood flowing right there.
And as you saw in that clip there, basically I was fishing a weightless Texas rig creature bait at that time, and I want to say that fish, it wasn't a monster by any means. It was 2 3/4, almost 3 pounds. I want to say 2 pounds 14 ounces roughly, somewhere around there, so almost 3 pounds. And I just casted the weightless Texas rig out, you know, and the pond's not that deep, so I just give it a little jerk so that bait would flutter up and then sink back down, using it, you know, kind of to imitate a crawfish. And right as I got close to the bank, I saw that the line started to give way, and we know what that means, a fish was on there. So instantly, you know, I let a little line out just so I have enough to properly set the hook, because you never know if it's a big fish or a small fish. And for some odd reason, I'm glad I did that, because it was a bigger fish than we were catching that day. So I did that, jacked him up, set the hook. And the reason you want to have the right setup for right scenarios is, I spoke about rods and gear ratios here just a second ago, but the reason why I caught that fish is not just because of the proper gear ratio, but it's also because of the rod. I set that hook nice and hard into that fish, didn't give him any slack, but I was able to penetrate farther because of the backbone in that medium action rod and the flex toward the front end. As you saw from the angle, when the fish pulled back down a little bit, it flexed along with it and gave a little leeway, you know, that way I could have time, as soon as that fish stop pulling, get back on that reel and get them to the bank and get them in. That's why certain scenarios I like to use certain rods and reels. And it depends on what I'm throwing, where I'm throwing it, things of that nature. So you have to be very cognizant of those things. Like for instance, for flipping in and around lay downs or thick grass or stuff like that, I'm not going to go anything lighter than my heavy action or like a medium heavy. I don't feel that I'm comfortable enough that if I hook into a big one or I get wrapped up or something like that, you always got to think worst case scenario, because fishing is partially, in our hands and it's out of our hands, because we are dealing with wild animals, believe it or not. So I like to give myself the best chance that I can. I also don't use, crazy stuff. For instance, I was just talking to my brother the other day about castability and stuff like that when it comes to fishing line. So obviously when you're fishing with a little bit lighter stuff, the rod, you can fit more line on the rod, rod and reel, and it casts a little bit better. So I like to stick to the lightest line that I can get away with, or that I feel comfortable getting away with. Except the only time I do not stick to like lighter stuff, honestly, is if I'm flipping and I'm using my heavy action flipping stick here. Then I'm using braid and I'm using some heavy thick stuff, because I'm already in some heavy thick stuff while I'm fishing with it. I'm talking big laydowns. I'm talking thick grass like hydrilla. So you want to make sure that if you get a bite, you can get that fish out of there and not lose it. So, but if I'm fishing, say, in a pond where, there's not really any cover or structure, they may be one or two like logs or rocks spread randomly throughout the bottom or something like that, I can get away with, a medium heavy or a medium action, or maybe even a medium light action. As you saw here today, our gear setups are based off our fishing scenario, where we're fishing and what we're fishing for, and what kind of cover is in that body of water. That being said, I hope you learned something today. I sure appreciate y'all, as always, taking the time out to watch our videos. We just want to spread the little bit of knowledge that we have and reach out and connect all the hands of the fishing community worldwide and spread the love. Thanks again. Appreciate y'all for watching. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell and leave us a comment. We'll see y'all next time, folks. Peace.